Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 810A. And today's date is November 5th, 2015. And the title of this episode is The Financial Disaster is Dead Ahead, and You Need to Prepare for It. Now, before I get started, I have two announcements. The first one, the News Sentinel site. I'm continually making improvements. We have about 263 streaming media coming in from all around the world. If you haven't checked out the News Sentinel website, you can go to newssentinel.com. You can also go to the front page of X22Report.com, scroll down a little bit, you'll see it, and you can click on the link there. And what this is we're having alternative media sites streaming into this one location. The site is continually updated with print and YouTube videos, letting you know what's going on in the world. My second announcement is we have a new interview coming up, which is tomorrow, Friday, with James Wesley Rawls. He's giving us an update on what has been going on around the world and what to expect. This is a very interesting interview, and this will be posted tomorrow. If you are on the X22Report.com email alert system, I will email you. If you signed up to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, you should get an email from YouTube. If not, just go right to the channel and view the video there. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com site. Right on the home page, just scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video, or you can view it on newssentinel.com. You can go right over there and get the video. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. We're going to head out to Greece right now, and the central bankers are continually convincing us that Greece is on the path of recovery. And we know they're not. All they did was take a big piece of tape, they put it on the crack, and it's not really sticking. It's falling off, and the crack is getting deeper and deeper, and Greece is moving into an area where they're just going to completely implode on itself. But the central bankers will completely take everything that Greece has before this happens, and this is their plan. But the people of Greece, they're not doing so well. Now, right now, the Greek people might have their electric turned off because the amount of unpaid bills by its customers has reached around 2.5 billion euros. And the public power company is angry about this and plans to cut the power to those without outstanding debts as soon as possible. And that's about 2.1 million Greeks that are going to be put into darkness. Now, many Greeks can't afford these bills. They don't have jobs. Their businesses are completely wiped out. Their wealth is completely wiped out. And shutting off their electric is not going to force them to pay because most of these people just don't have the money. And this is a lot of people. And, adding extra fees or turn off and turn on fees doesn't make it better either. And this is going to be a horrific situation if this actually occurs. I mean, we saw here in the United States with Detroit when they were going to shut the water system off. Shutting the electric, most of these people are going to die. And we're going to have to watch that situation very carefully. Here in the United States, the central bankers are up to their old tricks. They're trying to convince us that everything is fine here. We're in a complete recovery. The U.S. government is raising their hands up saying everything is fine. And we know they can manipulate a lot of these numbers to convince everyone, but everything's starting to fall apart and separate from what's really going on here. Because when we look at the initial jobless claims, they are continually declining. And we know that there are more and more people being laid off. I mean, Challenger Gray, they're reporting a massive spike in energy sector layoffs. And they're saying that these energy sector layoffs are hitting 6-month highs. They're 9 times higher in 2015 than they were in 2014. And Texas, is the leader with about 103,000 layoffs. And at this point, from the beginning of 2015 to this point, there is 543,935 jobs that were laid off already this year. 31% higher than in 2014. And they're continually trying to make us believe that initial jobless claims are declining. Well, this month they surged around 16,000. Well, you know what they're going to do. They're going to have to revise that number, and most likely we will see initial jobless claims fall once again because they have to manipulate everything to keep their side of the story. And when you look at it, we see layoffs increasing and initial jobless claims decreasing. They're heading in opposite directions. And it really doesn't make sense because you know as soon as you're laid off, you're going to go and claim and you want the unemployment insurance. And I can't believe all these people, and more layoffs are being announced every day, they're not going to go ahead and make the claim. Of course they are. Now, right now, the American people, they're feeling like something's wrong here. And Bloomberg's Consumer Comfort Index plunged the most since February in the last week to near 2015 lows. And it appears the Fed is rapidly realizing you can fool all the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. And people are starting to realize that, wait a minute, the NASDAQ is continually moving up. The S&P is moving up. The Dow is moving up. And I see all these layoffs. My salary, I'm not getting a raise. And I see people around me who are struggling. They can't find work. I see more and more stores closing down. And people are saying they're having a very hard time selling their homes. Something is wrong. And people are starting to scratch their head and say, something doesn't feel right now. Something is totally wrong. Now, people are saying, since all these numbers are manipulated, is there a way to see if the economy is really doing well or not doing well? Well, there is a more accurate way, and that is the U.S. economic output. And it's called the real economic output, and it is released by the BLS every quarter as a product of productivity, hours worked, compensation, and then applying a deflator adjustment. This is perhaps even more accurate indication of the true state of the U.S. domestic economy, considering all the complaints by the Fed over the state of the global economy and eliminate the noise from the trade which has been depressing GDP for quarters. What the real output data reveals is not pretty at all. Rising by 2.3% year on year in the third quarter, this was not only down substantially from 3.4% in the third quarter and 3.5% in the first quarter, but this was the weakest increase since the first quarter of 2014, and we are on a downward trend in real output. This shows us that the economy is worse off than they're telling us. We even have David Stockman, a former Reagan administration official. He worked for the U.S. House of Representatives from 1977 to 1981. He served as the director of the Office of Management and Budget under President Ronald Reagan from 81 to 85. And Stockman believes that a global debt supercycle that has been building for decades is now bursting. He is convinced that the consequences for the U.S. and for the rest of the planet will be absolutely catastrophic. Stockman explains that the stocks are surging to absolutely ridiculous levels, even though the corporate earnings are actually way, way down. And a lot of these companies like IBM, Caterpillar, their corporate earnings are way down. Sales are way down. And these are indicators that the economy is not doing well whatsoever. So if the global economy is really doing fine, like Obama and the Fed is continually telling us, why is the largest shipping line in the world eliminating jobs and scaling back capacity? And that is Maersk. Why are the big trucking line industry scaling back the number of trucks and laying off people? Why are big institutions laying off people like Standard Chartered, 30,000 people, UniCredit, IBM, Caterpillar, you name it? They're all laying off tens of thousands of people. If we're in this great recovery, then why is all of this happening at this point? We saw this to a run-up of 2008. This time, it's going to be much, much worse. Even Overstock.com chairman Johnson, they are preparing for a collapse in this system. They have about 10 million worth of gold coins. They have food to last their employees for about 2 months. And the question is, why are they so worried? Because they realize when they look at the financials and they look at what's going on, and you don't listen to the Federal Reserve, which is never going to tell you the truth, the government, which is never going to tell you the truth, they realize that this economy is completely falling apart. And this is why you need to be prepared. I mean, do you really think the government isn't prepared for a total collapse of the system? They've been preparing for a long time. Do you really think the central bankers at this point are not prepared for a total collapse of their system? They knew back in 1970, once they started the fiat system, it would only last 40 to 45 years, maybe 48 years at the most. They've been preparing all along, and they tried all different things to continually keep this system moving forward. But guess what? It cannot be sustained. It's like a household that continually uses their credit cards over and over and over, and they're only making $50,000 a year. That's the revenue they're bringing in. And they have $150,000 worth of debt, and then $200,000 worth of debt. And they just keep on taking out a new credit card. Before you know it, they can't make any of the payments. And what do they have to do? They have to declare bankruptcy because the debt gets too big. This is what's happening in the government right now. Yes, people say they can create money. Yes, they can keep running the debt larger and larger. But there's still payments on it. They make these payments with the revenue from the people. You know, your hard work. And when they can't do that, they borrow more to cover this. This system will reach a point where it will completely collapse. This is why they can never, ever, ever raise interest rates. And if they do raise interest rates, this is a signal to you that they're ready to bring down this entire system. If you are prepping right now, continue to prep. Continue to bring in food, medical supplies, toiletries. Have a weapon to protect yourself. Have gold and silver cash on hand. If you haven't started and you're nervous and you really want to ramp up your supplies, you can go right to lying.Bloomberg. They have pre-made food all ready to go, bug out bags, seeds, water filtration system. You can customize your order. And I would suggest everyone listen to the interview with James Wesley Rawls. We break this down for you on what is going to happen and how bad the situation is going to get. And that will be posted tomorrow on Friday on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.